You're watching The Chew, Orange Media Network's official news show. I'm Andre Bedoya Bunch. Our top story tonight, the Coalition of Graduate Employees are now on strike due to stalled negotiations with Oregon State University. The strike began on November 12th. In the time since, the union has held several pickets around campus. Meanwhile, Oregon State University has been forced to adjust courses taught by graduate students or assisted by graduate teaching assistants. Negotiations have stalled primarily due to the issue of graduate employee pay. CGE's initial demand included a 50% increase over 4 years to minimum salaries, with a 4% increase annually. In addition, they wanted the contract to have a 4-year term of agreement with a limited reopener after 2 years. OSU's offer included an 8% minimum salary increase over a 5-year term of agreement with no reopener. This would mean that a graduate student enrolling this fall would not be in school during the next negotiation. In a statement on negotiation efforts, OSU Strategic Communications and Public Affairs Manager Lanisha Reagan said, quote, "Before the strike commenced, OSU's bargaining team offered a proposal that included terms favorable to the union in efforts to avert a strike. The university was unambiguous in making the time-limited offer that expired at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, November 12th. The generous time-limited offer was made due to the fact that any disruption to the educational environment has a costly impact on the university," end quote. However, CGE disagreed on Reagan's characterization of the offer as generous. Among the concerns put forth by CGE were rising inflation and the high prices of rent in Corvallis, which is the most rent-burdened city in Oregon, according to the Department of Land Conservation and Development. Before the strike, we sat down with CGE Vice President of Communications Erica Stewart, who taught classes for the School of Writing, Literature, and Film. Stewart claimed they personally had to spend half of their stipend on rent and that they knew of other graduate student employees spending as much as 2/3 of their stipends on rent, leaving little money for food and other necessities. Later in the broadcast, we'll be sitting down with President Austin Bosgraf and VP of Bargaining, Brandy Whiteman. Though we reached out, OSU rejected our offer for an interview. On their social media, CGE have pointed out that for OSU's 2025 budget, OSU transferred $17.9 million from education directly to athletics. CGE claims that this money would be better used to raise graduate employee wages. CGE has made a similar claim about funding that has gone to salary raises to OSU administrators. Meanwhile, departments around the university have looked for ways to compensate for the loss of labor from graduate employees, including instructors and graduate TAs. In one class, for example, the School of Writing, Literature, and Film sent an email to students on the same day CGE declared a strike, stating that classes would continue with new instructors. In response, GTAs working with the school wiped their courses in an attempt to obstruct replacement instructors. Though the pages were eventually restored, to show their solidarity to CGE and their concerns, 28 faculty members at the school signed an open letter sent to the Daily Barometer and OSU administrators. The letter condemns the school's actions, claiming that it is delaying meaningful restorations and enriching inequitable labor practices. While wage remains a contentious issue in the negotiation, both sides have come closer to compromise. In their latest offer, CGE has dropped their minimum salary increase to 15%, while OSU is offering an increase of 13% with yearly increases and a 3-year term of agreement. Mediations will continue, likely slowing down for the upcoming winter break. Next, we're going to check in on a construction project that many commuters may have noticed in downtown Corvallis. The Oregon Department of Transportation has recently announced in a press release that the Van Buren Bridge project has made, quote, major strides, unquote. The project aims to upgrade the bridge against potential future earthquakes and higher traffic loads. We had a chance to talk to ODOT Public Information Officer Mindy McCart about the project.
Project's going to be building 3 bridges, 2 of which have already been built. One is the construction bridge where all of our contractors' equipment has been, all of the big cranes and that stuff has been using. And then the second one is the travel bridge in which traffic is currently on. And then the third and final bridge will be the forever Van Buren Bridge that we hope to be done and have traffic back on the new bridge at the end of summer of 2025.
The bridge was completed earlier. The actual project is currently projected to be done by 2026 to allow for removal of the 2 temporary bridges and environmental cleaning of the site. The construction originally began May of 2023, with development beginning 4 years earlier. According to McCart, the bridge is on schedule and on budget, and initially proposed $85 million. More information about lane closure and how specifically traffic is affected can be found on the ODOT website. After the break, we'll be going around campus, checking out a recent global food event and asking students about their reaction to the recent presidential election. Stick around.
One thing I really love about my job is I get to work with a lot of different people and have a lot of fun with them.
Oh man, the bullpen, it's honestly my second home. It's always like something's going on here, it's always music playing, but at the same time it's like that one big family feel here. So yeah, that's what the bullpen means to me.
It's a place where we like to foster a lot of our community, where you get to know people really well, a place to hang out.
What I like about OMED in general is it's just like the community aspect.
It's just such a fun place to work. I always like to say it's the best job on campus.
It's like the one place like where like you could be like radio, work for a magazine publication, you can do everything and like it's kind of accepted and normalized. So yeah.
It's just so much fun. I can't stress that enough.
Why not work here? It's a really cool place to be.
Welcome back to The Chew. Next up, I had a chance to attend the Global Culinary Heritage Celebration, hosted in the Memorial Union. The event featured food from around the globe, cooked right here on campus. Located in the ground floor of the Memorial Union is the Global Community Kitchen. Here, students and campus organizations can gather for cultural sharing, team bonding, or self-production of food for events they have planned throughout the school. Captured here on November 20th, 2024, is preparation for the Global Culinary Heritage Celebration, an intercultural food exchange experience hosted by Oregon State University's Food and Culture and Social Justice Program in collaboration with the Office of International Services. This is the second year that the OSU community has come together to cultivate a greater understanding of the cultures shaping campus through something as important as the food we eat. Through this event, students and faculty, both experienced and inexperienced, fold together their abilities to create unforgettable flavors. During the event, a presentation was given featuring voices and faces from the countries showcased within it and included discussion on how they decided which food to make and why they felt it best highlighted their culture's traditions or culture. Dishes from various countries from around the world were made, including the national dish of Malaysia, lassi lemak, a dessert pudding from India called kheer, Chinese vinegar potatoes, as well as an entire table dedicated to Ireland and its dishes. To better highlight the experience are two students commenting on their participation.
My name's Austin Moon.
I'm Randirth.
For this Food as Cultural Heritage project, I helped make food. I went into the Global Community Kitchen and helped in kind of any way that they needed me to help. My main dish of focus was momo.
I went in and I helped cook. We went in there yesterday and we did some prep work, and then we went in today and did the final dishes. I worked a lot on the momo dish as well, but I also worked with interviewing and working on the infographic for the spicy vinegar potatoes.
Yeah, overall it was a great experience. We got to learn a lot about different cultures and different food from those cultures.
With active participation from involved students like Austin and Rayanne, as well as students like the ones lining up just to try international delicacies, we can hope to see the Global Culinary Heritage Celebration return next year, totaling 3 consecutive years of diverse cultural connections. This has been Andre Bedoya Bunch with The Chew. Our next story concerns the national election. It has been exactly 1 month since President-elect Trump beat Vice President Harris. For a student reaction, Max Lowe speaks with campus goers at OSU.
I'm Max Lowe, reporting for The Chew, and today I'm at the Valley Library, and I just want to get a feel for how the OSU population feels about the election and kind of if they have any hopes or concerns about it.
Who did you vote for?
I voted for the only good option, Kamala.
Yeah. And what are your thoughts on the most recent election that happened?
I just don't really know how to tell people they need to be a good person. I don't know, you need to care about other people, but I also am just holding on to hope that so many people did vote for her, and those people aren't just non-existent. It was a majority who didn't, but a majority is not the whole. So.
Totally. Thank you so much. Who did you vote for?
I voted for Kamala Harris.
And what are your thoughts on the results, just overall?
Overall, I'm just really scared. I think it's honestly surprising. I think media made me think that Kamala was going to win. So I'm definitely very scared at what the next 4 years are going to be like. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My name is Danny Berger, and I'm a second-year master's student in Forest Ecosystems and Society.
And who did you vote for?
I voted for Kamala Harris.
And what are your thoughts on the most recent election? Like anything, just overall?
It was frustrating and disappointing for a lot of reasons. I recognize that there's a lot of reasons why the election went the way it did, like thinking about global trends, but for myself and for many people in my situation, it feels like a gut punch, and I feel like a lot of uncertainty about the future is, it's always hard, but I think now I'm thinking about people who are part of communities I'm a part of, like the LGBTQ plus community. I'm thinking about folks who are in other marginalized communities that are going to be affected by this election. I'm, on my mind a lot right now. I'm a union member, and I'm thinking about how union protections are going to change under this new administration. And I'm thinking about, I'm hoping to have a career in higher education, and what does this mean for the Department of Education if we, get to fund it, right? What does that mean for higher education in general? And so I'm in a crossroads of a lot of uncertainty and fear, and trying to not let it consume me overall.
Thank you for joining me. This has been Max Lowe with The Chew.
Our next story turns to research taking place on campus. Since May, agriculture professors have been field testing Farm Droid, a Danish farming robot capable of seeding and weeding a whole field. Kip Franich went down to High Slot Farm to get the scoop.
Since May of this year, OSU has been testing a state-of-the-art piece of agricultural technology. Farm Droid, a solar-powered automated farming machine from Denmark, can seed and weed a field based on a pattern established by its software.
Seeds, it'll drop one seed precisely, and it marks on RTK, which is GPS-aided technology, where each seed in the field is. So each individual seed has a location in the field. And so then on the software it stores where that seed is located. And when you're done seeding the field, you bring it back to the shop or change at the field into weeding configuration. And so there's a little bit of extra equipment that goes on, a weeding arm that runs and will move around the location where the seeds were dropped. And so it precisely navigates that weeding arm around those individual locations throughout the entire field.
Buckland and her team will be testing the efficacy of the Farm Droid over a period of 2 years. They are looking to see how efficient the droid is compared to traditional forms of farming. For KBVR TV The Chew, this is Kip Franich signing off.
After the break, strike correspondent Kip Franich will be sitting down with CGE President Austin Bosgraf and Vice President for Bargaining, Brandy Whiteman, to talk about the current state of the graduate student strike. Stick around.
My name's Fern Barber. I'm a photojournalist for Orange Media for the photo team, and I'm shooting the baseball game today at Goss Stadium.
My name is Ethan Heathershaw. I am a sports writer for the Orange Media Network for Oregon State University. Today was my first coverage of a baseball game. A little confusing, it's didn't know where everything was, but eventually we got there and figured it out. I got to sit up there in the press box with all my fellow media members. It's ended with a great game today with the Beavers taking home an 11-0 win.
I've been shooting for the photojournalism team since last fall, and it's been really fun. Today I was shooting with a 300 zoom lens that was manual focus. The big zoom, the big lens made it a lot easier to get photos of people who are really far away, which is obviously important for baseball in particular with a big field.
Would you say it adds a lot more fun, or do you think you would prefer staying on the mound and just getting your strikeouts? I've been an athlete all my life. I played football and wrestled throughout all of high school. I've been writing for the Daily Barometer for I think close to maybe 3/4 of a year now.
I've been shooting for OMN for almost 2 years now. I'm graduating this year. I didn't have a lot of experience with photography when I first started with OMN, so if there's anyone who wants to get into sports photography or photojournalism or just photography in general, the photo team is a great place to start.
Go Beavs!
Welcome back to The Chew. I'm Kip Franich. With me today is President of CGE, Austin Bosgraf, and Vice President for Bargaining, Brandy Whiteman. We should note that we reached out to the Strategic Communications and Public Affairs Manager for OSU to see if they wanted to send a representative to also appear live on the show, but they declined. Austin, Brandy, thank you for coming on the show.
Hey,
Thanks for
good to be
having us.
here.
How are you two today?
Oh, doing great.
Pretty good.
Right on. And how have you two been during the strike?
Yeah, the strike has been very energizing. It's been a great deal of work, but it's very exciting, and it keeps me motivated, keep coming back. So.
It's draining in bargaining sessions from that perspective, but it's really, really invigorating on the picket line.
So I have to ask about today. You guys showed up to demonstrate at President Murphy's meet and greet in the Memorial Union and caused quite the disruption. How do you think it went?
Yeah, I think it was a great big success. The folks who were organizing the event were all very happy with the outcome. We had upwards of 110 to 120 workers on the ground in the Memorial Union today, and we did indeed cause quite a big disruption, and I think our message was heard.
All right, and obviously the big part of the strike is about minimum salaries. What is the minimum salary for graduate employees at OSU right now?
Right now, our lowest paid workers are paid $1,762 a month before taxes. It's also notable that we aren't contracted for a full year. We're often contracted for 9 months at a time.
So I know the strike started on November 12th, but how long has the mediation been going on?
We had gone into mediation in late July.
Late July, all right. Austin, I remember you saying before the strike that striking was just one of the tools CGE has available to them. What was the tipping point that made CGE decide to strike?
Yeah, so I think thinking in terms of a particular tipping point isn't the right framing. So there are some official formal timelines in the negotiations process, and one of these time marks is when we were able to strike as a union under Oregon law. And it really was the buildup in the negotiation and the organizing process, which was a gradual momentum. And once we reached that stage of being able to strike, we really made the choice together. So at the beginning of negotiations, OSU tried to lock us into a 6-year contract, taking us from negotiating our salary every 2 years to every 6. And so the compounding effect of these really small financial proposals into this long-year contract agitated and mobilized a great deal of our members. And when it finally came down to making the decision, folks spoke unanimously, or nearly unanimously. We had 90% of our members voting to authorize a strike, and 93% of those voting members voted yes. And so this was a gradual movement, and we all took that final step together.
And what would you say to undergrads who may be frustrated over their classes being affected by the strike?
Yeah, I would say that I hope that they are seeing the message that we're putting out in terms of why we believe this is important. So the university is moving great sums of money into non-educational places. They're paying administrators, they're moving things into athletics. And so when graduate students are going on strike asking for better pay, for us, we're talking about demanding that the university funds the people who enact that educational mission and the ones who provide the services, which they're all here to get. You know, folks want to get an education, they want to take that education out in the world and get good jobs and do big things. And, you know, we are the ones who are here to help them in that way. And so if the university continues to let its workers live in insecurity, you know, the ability for us to actually do this with the students is going to, you know, be harmed. And so we see this as a choice. Either we fight right now for better pay for our workers, which hurts students maybe in the short term, but the long-term health of students at this university is going to be benefited by a successful movement.
Right. We, as graduate employees, we love our students, and we believe that they deserve better than than what they're getting right now. And you know, paying graduate employees a living wage is one step towards that.
Right. What impact do you think the strike has had on negotiations?
I think it's had a pretty significant impact, right? So as Austin said, we started negotiations with, you know, a 6-year term of agreement on the table, and then, you know, after the strike started, just last week we got a proposal from OSU which reflected a 3-year term of agreement, which CGE has been proposing more recently as a compromise to our status quo, which is 4 years with a partial reopener every 2 years. So that's significant movement that I really do credit all the workers on strike for.
What would a successful resolution look like to you?
A successful resolution would look like OSU coming up to meet CGE where we are right now. We have compromised a lot on our salary proposals, and you know, that's really important when we're talking about the difference between you know, making rent or not and being able to afford to feed yourself or not. So a successful wrap up is going to look like, you know, living wages for graduate employees, the 3-year term of agreement, and a return to work agreement that reflects, you know, the urgency to get graduate employees back in the classroom and back into their research position so that we can wrap up the term as cordially as possible.
What would you say to those who are concerned rising wages might increase student tuition?
We probably have a couple of answers to this. So the money that tuition is used for is to pay, you know, all of our salaries, graduate employees, instructing faculty, teaching faculty, and administrators. And a vast majority of that budget does go to administrative positions, which are quite few compared to the educational resources like, you know, teaching faculty and graduate employees. So the choice to raise tuition is not as correlated to a raise in graduate employee salaries as one might think, or as administrators might have you believe.
Mm-hmm. One thing I might add is that the university recently moved $17.9 million out of the education fund into the athletics fund. Now, the education fund is funded by tuition dollars. So we're talking about a university which is taking vast sums of money out of students' tuition dollars and moving it away from education. And so the university is creating huge gaps in its own budget where the education is supposed to be. And so that $18 million vastly outweighs the ask that we're asking for. Our current salary ask is only a couple $1 million. And so the university is ultimately responsible for the way it spends its money, and maybe just to add on that, the university is determined to increase tuition, and I think probably will, irrespective of our salary ask.
What has been the response from the sort of broader university community, including faculty, students, and staff?
We've had overwhelming support from, you know, I would say other unions first and foremost, and community members. Faculty have been broadly very supportive as well. You know, as we've already saw on this episode this evening, the School of Writing, Literature, and Film faculty sent an open letter to the administration about, you know, the conditions that are being created because OSU is stalling in this negotiation process when they could very easily come to me to set an agreement at this point.
Mm-hmm. And we've had multiple faculty from our department, the mathematics department, come to the picket line with coffee and snacks and food. And we've had offers of like, hey, is there anything I can do for like your Thanksgiving? And SEIU, which is the classified staff union on campus, they came and donated a huge, meal of sandwiches to the line. And so we've had folks from other universities coming out. GTFF, Graduate Workers Union at the University of Oregon. We've even seen the, what is the employees faculty union at UO?
Oh, I don't know. UAUO.
UAUO,
Right.
the faculty union. Even they've been out here. So folks are very interested in helping support us, and they want to see us succeed.
And aside from the university communities, how do you think the public perception of the strike has been?
I hope it's pretty good. So, as you've noted, right, the university has placed their position as, they're making generous offers to the union, which is not true. And, talking about our salary increases in terms of percentages is a little misleading in a sense because, the percentages are based on numbers that are already quite small. So, like, the public perception can only go so far with such limited information, but I think, press that Austin and I have talked to and other members of our union have talked to, we've, I think, been able to convey our message pretty well in a way that, the public has responded, kindly to.
And what happens if maybe perceptions sour a little bit? How will you be able to continue the strike?
Well, I don't really think our strike necessarily depends on the perceptions of folks outside, right? Like our membership is fighting for something that's, really big for all of us. Living wages, the ability to negotiate our contract in, a reasonable length of time. I find it hard to believe that perceptions would go so sour, and I would point a little bit more towards where the university is putting its priorities, right? So as Austin said, we see them divesting in education, and that's, that's bad on them.
Of course. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have today. Thank you both for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
This has been The Chew. Follow The Chew Live on Instagram. I'm Andre Bedoya Bunch. Have a good night.